Just going to have a quick look at the Dow Jones. Okay. What I've got here is a pretty simple chart. It's just got a set of fibs on it from October high to March low. I've also put in a 200-day exponential moving average and a 200-day simple. And what we've seen is once they basically turn up like this here, okay, we don't really have any grief until they turn over at the top, like so. And at the moment, we've had a big turn up in this one here, a little bit of a stutter in here, and now they're just heading along nicely. The other thing to be aware of when we did have this big drop off the cliff here was caused by a series of head and shoulders patterns, okay? And you can see a little left shoulder ahead and a right shoulder here. There's also another left shoulder here, another right shoulder there, and then you've got another one in here and in here, okay, which basically drove it down to there. On the basically the resurrection, we had an inverted head and shoulders system in here. There's your left shoulder, there's your right shoulder, and there's your head down here. It met its target pretty much quite well, as we can see there by that. Okay, the other thing to be aware of, if we have a series of head and shoulders on the way down, why can't we have a series of inverted head and shoulders on the way up? And you could put a case that that's left shoulder in here, okay, and that's right shoulder in there, and it's even come back and hit the neckline and gone up again, okay. If that was the case, it's going to be pretty big up from there, okay. The other thing we noticed on this Gann grid, and I'm not the best at drawing Gann grids, but it's respected it pretty much on the way up here, okay. And the other little thing is too, is once we get above these MAs, we can just notice this little range here I've got in here, okay, and it'll repeat it again there, okay. Basically, once it starts getting up around that range, above the MAs, it doesn't particularly like it, okay. And you can see again that we're right up there, okay, again. So that's something else I'd be bearing in mind, whether that's just a small pullback. The other thing to note is on the fibs here, the 23.6, it's come up and it's hit it here at basically a wave 3, and then it's come back, okay. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that in there to freak the bears out. So, and it could be a reason why that this has been quite so bullish, okay? So yeah, that's just basically it on the daily chart. I don't want to cover too much on that. Let's also just have a look here, indicators wise, and the main one here is the DEMA. That's pretty close to being its top, all-time top in there. Okay, and we're at not quite mid 70s yet, and just cruise up to the 80s, and you'd expect it definitely to be doing a pullback there. Just here on the weekly chart, we can see this fib level that it came up and hit, and then it's had the second and the third go, and it's pushed through here, and this candle setup here at the moment is quite bullish. Okay. The other thing is when we were looking at that second lot of inverted head and shoulders on the daily chart, it could also be taken as a cup and handle here on the weekly chart. The only thing that concerned me was the second top was a little bit higher. So if we did take it as a cup and handle, well, let's just say it is because it's looking that way at the moment. Target would be up here at 13,172. Roughly around about, okay. Also a reverse fib would throw a 161 from the top of wave 3, would throw a 161, okay, just above it at 13,400, okay, roughly about. But I'm starting to think that up around this area here would be the target. That's also our standard error channel here, okay. it'd fit in neatly with that, and that's where you'd find your 4-5, okay, and then you'd do an ABC down, okay, how far that would come back. Also, why it is has been quite bullish as well is because of this golden cross that happened here on the weekly chart, and that is a golden cross on a weekly chart, which is quite a strong thing. So whether that has any bearing back to that second inverted head and shoulders on the daily chart, we've yet to be seen. Something else to bear in mind too is also if you take from wave 5, you do the reverse fib, you get the 161 at the old top. Okay, so that's just something to throw the cat in amongst the pigeons, but I'd say the likely case scenario would be a wave 5 up here somewhere, back for an ABC before it attempted that old top, is what I would like to see it do, not get too far ahead of itself, which I think it's pretty much getting ahead of itself now. Let's just have a look at the weekly, indicators. Our MACD is still pointing up again. Okay, and if we drew a line through there, it's probably got a nice little bit of divergence off of that there somewhere. Yeah, not quite. The SCOS's pretty high, but our DEMA on the weekly is also at 70, and it's red-lined out before it's 76. Okay, seems to be the last high on that DEMA there, and it hasn't really, it's had one back here, but it hasn't really gone past that there on the weekly chart. So one would be expecting that up around that level is what we'd need to be looking at there. I'm just going to pull up the monthly chart, which is right here. And once again, we would have figured a top in this 23.6. And it certainly looked like it. It formed an inverted hammer, but it's totally cancelled that out and gone on bullish with it. Okay, MAs are still turning up here, and this is still looking like quite a powerful sort of a move there. We had our wave 5 count in here. Whether this is an overall major, another leg of a wave count, I don't know, but Volt's already told me it's not. I'm not dreaming, so we'll just take it at that. But monthly indicators as well. We're starting to get up there again. This is a SCOF, but this is a 69 and 3 for a monthly chart. Our MACD is, so like getting right up to where the biggest and best it's ever been. Is what one would be tending to look at, but this is a monthly chart, so that could push another couple of hundred points or another 500 points, and still be just hitting the top. Okay, and along with our DEMAs in here as well, our DEMA highs should be up there at 80. Up here at 87. Okay, we could also basically put in a case for it coming off if we did this to the parameters, take that off. Okay, close, and had a look at it here, and thinking that it could be off those two tops in there. It wants to play. Okay, you could say that's the length it could go. It could go to 75 on this before it turns down, but that DEMA has still got quite a way to go if it's going to get back up to the 87s like it's done in the past. But because of these are definitely sloping down, I'd be looking for a turn around about there. Whether it's a major or a minor, yet to be seen. That SCOF's still got a fair way to work and move on that as well. So yeah, all in all, confusingly enough, because one would say their economy is pretty much stuffed, but chart does look quite bullish. This is also a projected fib from the bottom here, from this bottom here. and that throws our 100% right here on that fib level. It throws 161 back up here at the old top as well. So yeah, there's a few things sort of pointing in that direction of this old top here at the moment, whether it has a little pull-off, okay, which would make our wave 5 and an ABC down, and then another go at it. But to me, it's sort of looking like it wants to try and get there sooner or later one day. Anyway, so that's given you a few things to think about. So I just thought I'd just drum up a little bit of what I was thinking about bulls and bears wise. It seems to be still favouring the bulls at the moment.